Hi, thank you for joining us for our pumpkin carving video for Virtual Tamfest. Whether this is your first time carving a pumpkin or you have been doing it for years, we have got some excellent tips to show you how to make it super easy and super fun. Okay, let's get started. So what do you need? You need a pumpkin, you need some carving tools. You can buy special ones from the shop, or you can use some simple things that you'll have in your cutlery drawer at home already. So to begin, you're going to want to take one of your serrated knives. You can either take like a steak knife, or you can have one of these tools that comes in a set specifically for pumpkin carving. Now, I really recommend these high quality sets that you can get from some of the bigger supermarkets. They're much better than the cheaper ones like this that you can get most places. These really aren't an awful lot of use. They don't have a pointed tip. So while they seem safer for children, they actually break very easily and it makes carving the pumpkin very hard work. So these ones are fantastic. As you can see, there is a point at the end and the teeth along there makes it really easy to carve the top off the pumpkin. So to begin, tip number 1, you're not cutting straight in and out of the pumpkin to cut the lid. You're going to cut at an angle like this all the way around. And that means that the lid won't fall inside once you've carved out the guts inside. Okay, so here is the top of our pumpkin. And you're going to want to make sure the lid isn't too small because we have to get our hand in and the spoon to carve out the insides, but not too big either unless you want to make that a feature. Okay, so health and safety. To make sure you don't cut your fingers, you do not want to hold your pumpkin like that when you're carving. You want to have your thumb tucked in at the opposite side from your knife at all times. So if the knife begins in here, there it is. So your knife is in, but your thumb is tucked in at the other side of the stalk. And that keeps your thumb nice and safe as you're going. You can even hold the stalk if you like. And then, as you can see, my knife is in at an angle, and we're just gently making small movements up and down. And then once you get a wee bit closer to your hand, stop and turn the pumpkin to make sure your hand is always at the opposite side from the knife. Children can do this too with a little bit of supervision to make sure they're keeping themselves safe. There we are. Moving the hand round again. Almost there now. There we go. The top is off. Now, one more little tip at this stage. It can be quite hard to find out where your pumpkin lid goes after you've cut it out, unless you've made it a kind of funny shape. So quite often what I do is I make just a little puncture there and I match it up with a little one beside it on the pumpkin. And that means when you're trying to find where the lid fits, you just match up those little marks and it's easy to find where it goes. So, time for the messy bit. There is our lid. Would put the pumpkin to the side for just now. And we are going to cut off all of this bit here. So this is where having your bowl handy to put the guts in is quite good. So again, holding the knife nice and safely, you're going to just gently cut off that gunky part with all the seeds. And I'm just rotating it as I go so that I'm cutting towards the middle and not across to my finger. And there we are. If you've still got any gunky bits left, you can use your spoon or your scoop just to scrape those off, because it's those gunky bits that make the pumpkin smell. Okay, nice and clean. Okay, now it's time to carve out the insides. This is the messy part. And again, when it comes to recommending tools for the job, you really can't beat an old-fashioned ice cream scoop. That's about the best you can get. This sort of thing that you get in carving kits is not much use at all. Again, they break easily and really aren't very good. But you can use a strong spoon. If it's a bit flimsy, it'll just bend, but if you've got a strong serving spoon, something like that will also do the job. But if you can get your hands on one of these ice cream scoops, it's perfect. Okay, so what I tend to do, I hold the pumpkin on its side, and I hold the scoop like that, and I turn like I'm carving the sides into the middle. So I do that, and I sort of loosen off all the seeds and things to begin with. So just rotate and try and loosen it all into the middle to begin with. And then when most of it's loose, like that, we can empty it out into our tub. Now don't throw the seeds away because they make a great snack. They're full of antioxidants and really healthy for you. And even if you don't like them yourself, the birds and the squirrels will love them, so put them outside. So that's most of the seeds out just now, but you can see there's still some of this stringy, goopy stuff inside. So what we're going to do with that, we're going back in with our ice cream scoop, and this time we're really scraping the sides. So dig a little bit deeper when you're scraping. And you're trying to get all that dark orange goop off. Pull it into the middle so that you can see the paler coloured flesh underneath the harder stuff. So I don't know if you can see in there. We want all that orange gooey stuff out, and we want this lighter coloured flesh showing. If you get all the goopy stuff out, your pumpkin will last a little bit longer because it won't rot quite as quickly and it won't smell so bad. There we go, that's a good big bit. Out it goes. And then to get to the bottom, I lie it flat again and just start to scrape across the bottom. And there we have it. I think that's about as clean as I can get it. Perfect. Now we are ready to do the design. So this is the part where if you turn your pumpkin round and decide where its best side is. So for example, there's some little marks here, so I'll maybe make that the back of my pumpkin and choose this nice big side here to put the face on. I'm just going to go really simple to start with on this one, and this is where the whiteboard pen comes in handy. So just wipe off any gunk to start with. Make sure your pumpkin's dry or the pen won't work. And then you're just going to carefully sketch out the shapes for your pumpkin. I'm going with a really simple traditional pumpkin face here, because it's only a really little pumpkin. So there we go. That's my first shot at the design. And I've just noticed that eye's a little bit small, so because it's whiteboard pen, I can just rub that off and do it again. Okay, I'm happier with that. There we go. And now it's time to cut. This time, it can be handy to use the knife with the smaller teeth. So again, this came in the set with this other pumpkin carving tool, and these are both really good. They last for years and years and years, and they're nice and strong. But this one with the smaller teeth is perfect for cutting out the shapes, because sometimes the edges can look a little bit rough if you use the serrated one for this part. But again, same rules apply. You need to keep your hand right out of the way of the knife, and I find cutting down the way easier. So if the blade is on this side, you're going to be cutting down towards the bottom of the pumpkin as much as possible. That keeps you in control of the knife and keeps you safe. So there we are. just cut from here to here. So instead of trying to cut along that way and up that way, I'm now going back up to the top and I'm going to cut down the other side. And again, just small movements keeps you in control of the knife. Now, if that has all gone well, I should be able to just pop that piece out. And there's our first part out. Easy peasy. If you don't have one of these tools that came in the set, you can use a kitchen knife that's got a smoother blade or smaller teeth on it, like this one. But if you enjoy pumpkin carving like I do, I really recommend you buy one of these sets because they will last you for years. You can clean them and use them again next year and the year after and the year after that. And they're quite safe for children to use as well, which is great. Much safer than trying to use a big kitchen knife. There we go, and once you've carved out all the shapes, you can get a damp cloth and just wipe off any of the remaining whiteboard pen. And that'll let you get a good look at your pumpkin and see if you're happy with your design. There he is. Quite a simple design, but I'm sure he'll look great when he's all lit up. Let's put his hat back on. There we go. First one done. Okay, now it's time to do this big guy. And we're going to go for something a little bit trickier. You can draw out your own design or you could print out a template from the internet. That's what I've done today, just quickly so I can show you. I've chosen this design, and the first thing to do is make sure that it's a good fit for your pumpkin. So it's important, you don't want it to wrap all the way around your pumpkin, you want it to be sitting nicely to the front when it's all lit up, otherwise parts of your design will be hidden. So it's a good idea to plan ahead and make sure you've got a good size. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm just cutting out the design roughly. Okay. There, I think that'll be all right. Okay, so there's two ways we can do this. If you have the time and the patience, you could use a craft knife or scissors to carefully cut out these pieces so that you've made yourself a stencil. And then you would just hold that in front of your pumpkin and trace with a pen the empty spaces. Or you could try it this way like I'm going to show you. So you cut out your template, you're going to tape it onto the pumpkin just roughly. Like so. And then we're going to use a skewer to pierce holes through the design into our pumpkin. We're just following the shapes. I don't know if you can see there, so I'm just making holes all the way along those shapes. And that's going to give me a pattern to follow when we take the paper off. Okay. Hopefully when we take this off now, we will have a pattern to follow. And all the juices are starting to come out. So let me give it a little wipe first. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but you can dry this pumpkin off now, and if you take your whiteboard pen, you can trace those lines that you've made with your skewer, and then we're ready to cut out. So there we are, I've sketched in pen over all of the lines that I pierced through from the skewer. And now I'm ready to go ahead and cut into the pumpkin. Now that we know where the face is going to be, we can see how much space we've got for the lid. Because sometimes if you're doing a complicated design, it's easy to get stuck in straight away and cut the lid open, and then you've cut it too far down to fit your face in. So with a more complicated design like this one, I would usually draw on first and then cut the lid to make sure that I don't take up too much space. Okay, let's get When you finish cutting out, you can check your design and tidy up any little bits that need cleaned out fully into the middle of the pumpkin. Just check that the spaces are clear all the way through so that the light really glows when it's lit up. And one more important thing to remember: don't worry if you make a mistake or if you cut outside the lines that you've marked on. It's okay, because it's going to be your unique design and no one's going to know. Just make it look like you meant it. For example, I broke one of the teeth down here and I just joined it onto the next one. And once it's lit up, no one's going to know. Clean your pumpkin up. Wipe away any bits of paint that are left. Oops, broke a bit. There we go. Not exactly as I had planned it, but I think he's going to look quite creepy when he's all lit up. And if, for example, you have a bit that's broken off, I have a little tip for you. So if you have a really important part that's broken, like here, my tooth is broken off. Or if, for example, you're cutting letters out and the little inside part of the letter has fallen out, anything like that that's really important that you want to keep, all you really need to do is get a skewer or a toothpick and break a piece off, and you push one end into the pumpkin and the other piece of pumpkin on top of the spike, and that will hold it in place. Alright, I think all that remains is to light this guy up and see what he looks like.